Hey guys, Ryan Huber with Prop and Gear here to talk to you guys about the CFI program here at ATP Flight School. I'm here at ATP Flight School at the Lawrenceville location, the location I did all my training out of. And I'm just going to tell you guys about the CFI program, how it works, and my experience with the CFI program, and then how I ended up passing my initial CFI multi-engine flight instructor check ride on the very first time down in Jacksonville over the 31st of October on Halloween. So I'm very proud that I got that done. I got through this program and I passed it on the very first try. It's a very tough check ride, and that's not the case with everyone. So to start off with, I left off with you guys about a month ago since I made my last video talking about the commercial multi-engine check ride, the CFI written exams, and going through that process to prepare for the CFI program. Now, from where I left off, I did the FOI and the FIA CFI written exams, the two exams you need in order to do any flight instructor rating. You have to pass those two written exams, and with ATP, you pass those two, you do all of your CFI module videos that they supply to you on their ATP extranet, and then you'll be enrolled either at the Lawrenceville location here, the Craig location down in Jacksonville, or I believe they have a flight instructor program also at the North Las Vegas airport if you're out on the West Coast area. So those are the three locations that you could be in order to do the CFI program. And I obviously only have experience from the Lawrenceville location here in Georgia, but I'll give you insight into that and then just kind of show you how the program will work. It might be a little bit different at Jacksonville, at North Las Vegas, some of these other locations. But so you'll get your CFI start date as soon as you finish those written exams or in the process of finishing your written exams. And then after you're done with that, my start date was October 10th. So October 10th, Monday, I came in, first day of CFI school, and there's a lot of things that I can tell you right now you need to get done before you even come in day one. A lot of things to help you prepare because this program is no joke. It's very serious. It's 2 weeks of ground and a week of flying. You'll have 2 flights scheduled during that week. 2 flights in the Seminole for your multi-engine initial, as well as a spin flight in a 172 to get your spin endorsement, which is required per 61-187 for your flight instructor flight proficiency requirements. So 2 weeks of ground. 2 weeks of ground are the most intense 2 weeks I've probably ever had in my life. It is no joke. Monday through Friday, including that first weekend, we had set study times, and you really have to be prepared and you have to be ready to work. Prepare your mind. Any of you guys coming into this program, I'm going to give you some tools, some things that are going to really help you out because I came in kind of not knowing exactly what to expect and what I really needed to do beforehand. And there's some things that you can definitely knock out to make sure that you go into it strong and you go in with a successful outcome. So first off, the two main things that any flight instructor needs to know that is different than just the commercial multi-curriculum or your base knowledge of everything in aviation that you've acquired thus far is first off FOIs and secondly endorsements. So what are FOIs? FOIs, fundamentals of instruction. Now if you guys have taken the FOI written exam, you have some familiarity of what FOIs are and how that works. It's basically all the psychology behind instructing, such as aviation instructor responsibilities, professionalism, assessment and critique, working with students, the teaching process, learning process, and all these things that you might think are kind of simple, but in reality there's a lot of things that the FAA and these examiners look for, a lot of acronyms that you're going to have to remember. And it basically comes all out of the aviation instructor's handbook. So step one, go get yourself a copy of the aviation instructor's handbook. I believe it's free online since it is an FAA publication. And then once you get that, start going over that, really dig into these FOIs, these fundamentals of instruction, and that'll set you up for success coming in. Definitely get your hands on that. Start to memorize some of these acronyms for the different tasks in your PTS. There we go. Second step, get a hold of the most recent flight instructor PTS. The one that we were provided with ATP ended up being outdated. They recently came out with some changes, change 5 to the flight instructor PTS. So we got some nice little copies made at a Kinko's, spiral bound, really nice looking PTS. I definitely recommend that. and then go through your PTS and understand what the examiner is going to ask of you, what is required, highlight the required tasks, and run through these different things, and then make notes in your PTS as well. It's perfectly okay to have notes in your PTS, small little things to help you memorize stuff, little acronyms or little just memory joggers written out in your PTS. That is 100% okay. Get familiar with what the examiner is going to ask of you well before you go into the check ride, and it's going to be much more successful. And you can do this for any check ride, not just a flight instructor check ride. Be familiar with your PTS and what the examiner is going to ask you and what to expect. You can have your PTS out in any check ride. So that's another tip. Look through the PTS beforehand, the FOIs, and then third is endorsements. What I have here, I've got the FAR-AIM 2017. I believe this is actually outdated because they came out with some changes in June. But as you can see, I've got all the tabs here of different things that I tabbed out. We've got the student pilot, private pilot, commercial pilot stuff, all the regulations and endorsements that pertain to the different ratings. This is something you're going to have to familiarize yourself with. For me, going through my training, I never really looked in the back of my logbook and really dug into those endorsements. I just knew, okay, cool, I've got the endorsement, I can take this check ride, this written exam, but I never looked. It's like, oh, that's a 6187, or that's a 6139, or 61105, 61107, what some of these endorsements are, and the requirements, the flight proficiency, and the aeronautical experience you need in order to do these ratings. Because at ATP, it's so organized, the program is so streamlined to the point where you don't even really have to think about, oh, I need another hour here or there. It's pretty much all built into your schedule. So you've got all the times come check ride time, you should do your logbook audit and it's all good to go. But so if you can familiarize yourself with the FOIs, the endorsements, and then as well as just going through the flight instructor PTS before you even get into CFI school, it will help you tremendously. Huge. Because the whole first week is FOIs and endorsements, and you go through it each day. You've got a quiz every day, at least that's how it works here at the Lawrenceville location. We learn a section or a task in the PTS going over FOIs or endorsements, and we'd be quizzed on it daily. So we'd have a daily quiz each and every day where we'd have to verbatim write down everything almost as if it were a check ride scenario. It wasn't necessarily multiple choice. They're tough quizzes. It's a tough program, and you really have to be prepared. The CFI program at ATP, it's not for everyone. You really have to want it, and you really have to put in some hard work. That's the reason I haven't really recorded or done any kind of video stuff in this past month, just because it's been so intense and I've been dedicating myself solely to that. But that's why I'm here, to help you guys. So if you are going to the CFI program, or you're thinking about opting into the CFI program throughout your ATP training, this is the path you want to take. These kind of things can help you out a little bit. So FOIs, endorsements, the PTS, and then lesson plans. The last thing, ATP has, I think they use the Backseat Pilot is what it's called in their resources. You can access these Backseat Pilot lesson plans. You can purchase them online, or if you're an ATP student, you can access them yourself through the library with ATP. And these lesson plans, guys, you can access this stuff since your private pilot phase. Some of these lesson plans are great, and you can dig into them, and it's just a whole outline, a couple pages of everything you can think of. Straight and level, steep turns, operating with an engine inoperative, VMC, lost comms. There's a lesson plan for everything, and it'll give you a 4-page, 5-page, 2-page outline, whatever, of what you're going to be learning through that lesson. And I highly recommend, even for you guys watching before you come into ATP, or if you're doing your private pilot with ATP, or even if you're doing a program outside of ATP in general, just a flight student somewhere or going through your CFI with another school, print out these lesson plans. Well, like when you're just a private pilot, you're just going through your basic training, and then look through these every lesson. If you know, okay, my instructor is going to do steep turns with me today, and we're going to learn steep turns, look through that lesson plan, highlight what's important, understand the fundamentals throughout all these lesson plans, so by the time you come into CFI school, you look at this stuff, you go, oh, I remember these lesson plans, and so it's not so foreign to you when instead of just understanding it, you're teaching it now. You have a familiarity and you understand this stuff and you've seen it before. That's so important. If you can look through those lesson plans, start taking notes, outlining them, highlighting stuff, just jogging your memory, because this CFI program, it's not like most CFI programs. Most CFI programs, they might be 3 to 4 months long. You're going over airspace, weather, things to refamiliarize yourself with that info to help sharpen you up. But with ATP, we're going over the new stuff, the endorsements, the FOIs, things that are going to help you. And then when you do go over that stuff and you learn how to teach, we give lessons in the classroom. We're presenting to the group over systems, over different multi-engine aerodynamics, things like that. But you don't get a whole lot of time to go back over that stuff that you learned as a private pilot or an instrument commercial pilot, what have you. So it's really on you to make sure that that information is sharp and you've got that set. So I highly recommend anyone going through an accelerated program like this to get your hands on that information and dig deep into it. You know, a lot of my ratings going up through my commercial phase, I only dug deep enough to get the knowledge I needed for that rating. I was like, okay, I understand this enough, but you really go above and beyond, because you're going to be teaching this one day if you do opt into the CFI program. So another very important piece of advice, if you do all those things, you'll be very successful and it'll help you out a ton. And then the only other thing, that's the ground portion. You do that for 2 weeks, daily quizzes, going through FOIs, endorsements. You'll be teaching in the classroom, teaching people lessons. And that's another thing too, practice teaching. Myself and another student were here almost every day, teaching every single day, all day long, going up to the whiteboard and just presenting lessons back and forth to each other to get comfortable with that, because that's the kind of stuff you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get up in front of an FAA inspector, in my case, or a designated pilot examiner, and teach them, okay, what are multi-engine aerodynamics? What affects VMC? What are flight instructor responsibilities and professionalism? And teach these lessons and teach them well, because you're not only being graded over knowing the content, but how you present it. And if you present it in a way that is understandable to the private pilot or the student pilot, someone who's never seen this stuff before. So that's a big change for a lot of people. It's tough for them to get down to that level of, okay, how do I explain taxiing to someone who's never sat in an airplane? You can't just say, oh, okay, press on that rudder pedal or press on that pedal, add a little power. These abstractions, these things, they don't know these things. So you have to really go from the bottom up, simple to complex, with these students. So 2 weeks of ground, and then you have the week of flying, and it's 2 flights, maybe a third if you need it, in the Seminole for your multi-engine initial with ATP, and then the spin flight. Spin flight is pretty fun. You're just going through a spin maybe 7 to 10 times, making sure that you can dial it in and really do a good job going through your acronym, your pair acronym, spin recovery, and recovering from the spin and doing it, saying it. You get through that, and then you've got your 3 Seminole flights where you go through all the maneuvers, steep turns, drag demo. Drag demo is the new maneuver or new demonstration you'll have to learn as a CFI. VMC demo, things like that, and it's all from the right seat now. So that can be kind of troublesome. The simulators we have access to at ATP work wonders for getting those flows down in the right seat, as opposed to seeing everything from the left. And then just teaching it while talking yourself through that. I highly recommend that for anybody who's just a private commercial pilot. Talk through every maneuver you do. As you're doing a steep turn, say, okay, there's my reference point. I'm looking outside. I'm looking at this bolt here on the windscreen cut through the horizon. I'm holding back pressure to keep my altitude. I'm dropping altitude a little bit. I have to take out maybe 5 degrees of bank, a little more back pressure. Say what you're doing through the maneuver, so that way when you do come time to teach, it's just second nature. I think that really helped me a lot as I've talked my way through things in the airplane. So that helped me in the teaching aspect, so that it really wasn't that foreign, talking my way through what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So that is the CFI program in a gist. That 3rd week you'll have your flights. If you get endorsed, you get the ground endorsement first, then the flight endorsement, and then after that you'll have your check ride either sometime that 3rd week or the week after. And for all of us students in the Lawrenceville area, we got assigned examiners and FAA inspectors in Jacksonville. That's primarily where they do the check rides out of for the CFI initial. So I went down to Jacksonville Sunday night, the 29th. And then I spent one night in Jacksonville, and I did an intro flight at the Craig Airport. It was about an hour long. Went up with one of the instructors to see the area, kind of get a feel for where I was going to be doing my maneuvers and stuff, and then came back in, studied that night, woke up the next morning, 7 a.m. check ride. My oral lasted about 5.5 hours. A little bit shorter, honestly, than some of the orals that I've heard from these CFI check rides. The CFI initial check ride, you could have a 7, 8, 9 hour oral I've heard of, but luckily I got off to a good start. The oral was about 5.5 hours, and then the flight itself was 1.6, and did everything successfully. Learned a lot. Obviously I wasn't perfect in the check ride, but I'm very proud to say that I passed on my first go. That's really not rare, but it's not the most common thing for your CFI check ride. The pass rate is a lot less than any other check ride. As you can imagine, the CFI is pretty much the top dog besides your ATP license or your ATP certificate. So yeah guys, I'm done. I'm a multi-engine instructor. Well, almost done. I'm a flight instructor coming to you now as a flight instructor. That's really cool. I'm really proud of that. And I can actually give you guys some instruction now with some credibility. And then on the 10th, November 10th, I've got my single add-on so that I can teach in a single engine airplane, and then I've got my CFII the same day. So those two check rides back to back. I'm planning to knock those out, studying here after I make this video right now for those. And then I'll update you guys with that. And then after those check rides, I'm off to standardization with ATP. I'm very thankful and happy to say that I've committed to ATP to instruct, and I'm planning to go out to Phoenix on the 15th for standardization, and then upon successful completion of standardization, I'll be working with ATP either at the Scottsdale or Phoenix location out in Arizona. So I'm super excited for that. There's beautiful weather, beautiful scenery out there, as any of you know who've been out west. I absolutely love it out there. So I'm really excited to get out there, start flying, start meeting some of you guys and instructing, and hopefully some of us can network. I can help you guys get up to your goals, and you guys can help me out. So it's been awesome. And guys, soar to your full potential. Thanks for all your emails, your comments, everything, all the people who call me, contact me. If you need anything, you have any more questions about the CFI program or the ATP program in general, anything I can do for you, please let me know. I'll leave my email in the description. So guys, soar to your full potential. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.